Covering news where you live, this is 5 News.
Well, thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday for the latest news and weather where you live. I'm Joe Ellison. Now, before we get to our top news of the day, let's get a check of the weather with meteorologist Zach Scott. And Zach, we're seeing a little bit of rain in our area today.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? We started seeing showers start Tuesday morning, and then since then it was a damp, soggy Tuesday that really only got wetter for us, especially by late afternoon through the evening. We saw more widespread, heavier rain. That continued through the overnight hours. Now your Wednesday looking like a soggy one. Scattered showers. Even some rumbles of thunder are going to be possible. Rain likely and slowly tapering off through the late afternoon, evening hours. And then as we go late evening, we're talking as early as 10 to 11 p.m., midnight, 1, 2 a.m. A little bit of a window, 4 or 5 hour window right there, where we're going to try to see a little bit of a switch of rain to some snow. Northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri have the better shot. But I think far northwestern Arkansas, especially Benton County, could see a little snow mix in. This is going to be overnight while you're sleeping. Not going to be a big issue, but the chance is certainly going to be there. And then as we get in the River Valley, you're going to stay plenty warm here. We'll see a decent shot of rainfall throughout the day, and then that slowly tapers off for you through the evening hours. And then again, wrapping up for us by 1, 2 o'clock, you should overall be pretty dry with the rain shifting further to the northeast. Future track radar doing a good job showing the waves of rain coming in. Had a little bit of a break around 5, 6, 7 o'clock in parts of the area. Widespread rain developing across Texas, Oklahoma moves in. That continues late morning through the afternoon. Late afternoon, evening, we start to draw in some drier air. And we're going to start wrapping up our rain chances. Southwestern zones first, and then eventually northwestern Arkansas. There you go, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 a.m. Little changeover to some snow going to be possible while we're sleeping. No impacts expected from that. That'll continue off towards the east. We'll be quiet by the time you wake up. We saw a good 1 to 3 inches from north to south. Some big winters here, 2 to 3 inches across our southern half Tuesday, or at least in the last 24, 36 hours. We could see an additional 1 to 2 inches overall for Wednesday. So again, overall, pretty good soaking for us. Temperature starting out chilly 40s, lower 40s to upper 40s south. We're going to try to get upper 40s, low 50s north, to some mid 50s and lower 50s overall for highs across our southern half, and then we'll drop down into the 30s with some during the middle of the night. Again, some lingering showers, a little bit of snow, but overall clear for your Thursday morning commute. More on your forecast. We'll continue to update the chances for some snow Friday, Joe, coming up.
All right. Thank you so much, Zach. Well, President Biden delivered a clear message to Congress in his State of the Union address saying, let's finish the job. Before a new divided Congress, though, President Biden issued a plea for unity. He urged Congress to help him on a number of key priorities, starting with the economy. Biden also took a swipe at Republicans on entitlement programs on foreign policy. The president reiterated U.S. support for Ukraine and took aim at China days after a suspected Chinese spy balloon was shot down. Well, right after the president gave his State of the Union address, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders delivered the Republican Party's response. 5 News reporter Micah Wilson has more on the first Arkansan in decades to deliver a response to the State of the Union.
Hey, good morning to you. The last Arkansan to do this was Bill Clinton when he was governor back in 1985. That was nearly 40 years ago. Sanders is no stranger to the national stage, having been former President Donald Trump's press secretary. And yesterday, she returned to the national spotlight, but this time as the governor of Arkansas. And Arkansas is where she addressed the nation from the state capitol. Now, this all comes less than a month after she took the oath of office, becoming the first woman to be Arkansas's governor. Now, she is also the youngest governor in the country right now. The Republican Party of Arkansas calling it a bold decision to select Sanders tonight, saying that she is a conservative leader with a unique chance to share her love and vision for Arkansas on a national stage.
President Biden's weakness puts our nation and the world at risk. And the president's refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief.
Since her campaign, Governor Sanders has heavily criticized the president from his pandemic response to immigration policies. Now, last night she did speak about inflation, education, and freedom of speech, as well as, quote, big government. And GOP members say that she was chosen because she fights on behalf of parents and small businesses. And on the other hand, last night, the Democratic Party of Arkansas praised the president.
President Biden inherited one of the worst economic situations, and certainly with the pandemic, one of the toughest situations that we face as a country in our lifetime. And so we see results being delivered by this president. We see Arkansas having investments of over $4 billion in infrastructure that are getting people back to work.
You can view the Democratic Party of Arkansas's rebuttal to the governor's speech on their Facebook page. And of course, we'll have more on this on our website, 5newsonline.com. Micah Wilson, 5 News.
All right, thank you, Micah. Now, even though hers was on a national stage, Governor Sanders isn't the only one who gave responses to President Biden's State of the Union address. Many Arkansas and Oklahoma lawmakers are criticizing the president's address on inflation. This morning, Arkansas Congressman Steve Womack reacting by saying, in part, quote, failed policies have left Americans with emptier wallets, higher bills, rising crime, and a surging border crisis. And Oklahoma Representative Markwayne Mullin reacted by saying, in part, the fact is, Oklahomans are living the daily consequences of Joe Biden's self-inflicted disasters, from skyrocketing grocery bills, gasoline prices, and home heating costs. And in other news, the man FBI agents say had homemade explosives inside of his Fort Smith home is now in custody. The FBI says Neil Ravi Mehta was arrested in Austin, Texas, after almost a week on the run. Agents say they found unauthorized bombs there in his Fort Smith home. According to court records, Mehta is chief financial officer of Federal Armament, a Fort Smith company that sells firearms and ammunition. The FBI and other federal agencies executed that search warrant at Mehta's home last Tuesday because they say they suspected him of multiple offenses, including selling and importing illegal firearms. According to other court records, Mehta ran from his home when authorities arrived, getting a ride from a neighbor before borrowing a car from an associate. During the search, they say they found this device, which was described as destructive, there in his kitchen. The X-ray text, though, rendered it safe, and an ATF explosives enforcement officer identified the device as an improvised explosive device. Records show that the device was not registered in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Act through either of his companies. Now, the FBI says this is an ongoing investigation.
The FBI is known for thorough, meticulous, and lawful investigations. We're going to let the facts speak for themselves in this case, and we're turning it over to the U.S. Attorney's prosecutors and the great team that they have there in the Western District.
Now, Mehta faces charges of unlawful possession of an unregistered destructive device. The Department of Justice says a federal grand jury will hear evidence related to this investigation and then decide if there should be additional criminal charges. Now, if convicted, Mehta could face up to 10 years in prison and possibly up to a $10,000 fine. And this morning, a 12-person jury is in place for the trial of Mauricio Torres. Now, he is standing trial, you remember, for murder and sexual assault of his 6-year-old son, Isaiah, back in 2015. It took 4 days of jury selection to get those 12 jurors, and will be the third time Torres has stood trial for this crime. The state Supreme Court overturned the first conviction, and the second time ended in a mistrial. Well, thank you for joining us here today for the latest news and weather where you live. I'm Jo Ellison. Make sure to catch up with us again tomorrow right here for more.